our guns, our Bibles, our religion. And now apparently the top Democrat in the White House thinks that we're all so garbage. But as the saying goes, one man's trash is another man's treasure. And today in Wisconsin, take a look at that. This may go down as an iconic, epic moment that we will remember for a long time. Donald Trump hitching a very special ride on a garbage truck decked out in American flags, MAGA gear. You can tell a lot about the state of a campaign by optics. As the Democrats ratchet up the hatred, the name-calling, the vitriol, Donald Trump, he's working at McDonald's. He's telling jokes at the Al Smith dinner. He is comforting people in North Carolina when it matters and working with Elon Musk to get them communications. Generally, in this case, tonight, having a great time.
This gaslighting. So Sean Hannity played a clip of Trump stumbling into a garbage truck before claiming the iconic, epic moment would be remembered fondly for a long time. Yes, but I don't think it means what he thinks it means.
Exactly.
Yeah, he said, yes, apparently the top Democrat in the White House thinks we're garbage. But as the saying goes, one man's trash is another man's treasure. And today in Wisconsin, take a look at that. Well, we did look at that. And as I was saying, the Las Vegas Sun, thank God for some newspapers with courage to say he is crippled cognitively and clearly suffering from mental illness. I mean, on top of everything else, right? I mean,
well, and like once with Donald Trump, just days ago, he called the left scum and garbage. So, and I don't think he's apologized for that. Also, I don't think anybody in their right mind thinks that a garbage man has, or the guys that women that take out the trash have pristine trash trucks with their name emblazoned on it, and their tie and slacks under their protective vest. When doing the work.
Please, somebody today make a joke about Trump supporters being crap so he would do an appearance with a porta potty with his name on it, because I thought that's going to be the perfect, like, when his campaign goes down in flames, just him in the garbage truck.
Right.
Well,
going off the cliff is going to be the meme.
They had the Don's Johns for his inauguration in 2017, so, he'll never miss an opportunity to have his name on something.
It will be an actual flaming dumpster fire. So, Carl, I think, the things that we are concerned about, of course, are Republican effery, because as we were saying, it's clearly already starting in Pennsylvania. The chairman of the RNC said the Trump campaign intends to file a lawsuit in Bucks County for turning away voters who had lined up to apply for mail ballots. Of course, every instance they're going to use as, Democrats are stealing things when it's, normal. They're doing whatever they can to cause chaos and confusion, right? Yeah. County officials have said several times over the last few days that the election offices are not polling places, and on-demand printing of mail ballots is not early voting. Pennsylvania law does not allow early voting. Officials said anybody who was in line to apply for a ballot by 5 p.m. on Tuesday was able to submit their application. So obviously,
it's conspiracy theories that they're already. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you've already seen the video of the postal inspector dropping off the ballots that had come in that day at the post office, at the elections office, and some, Trumper with a, cell phone camera saying, "Look at these liberals, trying to put ballots into the box and whatever." It's like, well, or it's just the Postal Service doing its job.
Right. Well, and speaking of that, a group of citizens are challenging hundreds of mail ballot applications in Pennsylvania, claiming they were submitted by voters who've moved to a new address that disqualifies from voting in the state. A coalition of voting rights groups are pushing back, calling them a malicious attempt to disenfranchise voters. Every single one of these lawsuits is how do we stop people from voting? We are very concerned about the validity and intent of these challenges, deliberate abuse of the election system, and the time and energy it will take for our local officials to address them. That's what they want, right? Steve Bannon, flood the zone with, right? And all these junk lawsuits. I mean, it couldn't be clearer, could it?
No, and, this is in part what they tried to do last time around, but this is going to be it on steroids. I'm hopeful that we're ready for it. I think Mark Elias and his team and everybody else who's engaged in this work have been expecting this for months. But you never know what a judge is going to do or what the Supreme Court's going to allow to happen.
Speak to why I saved your home state story for last. The Supreme Court clears Virginia governor to purge voters days before an election. Once again, just unbelievably bad ruling, unprecedented, whatever you want to call it, with just a week to go, not even until the election. Supreme Court agreed that Virginia could continue to purge its voter rolls of suspected non-citizens. A Washington Post review of Youngkin's claims, the Republican governor, says purging more than 6,000 non-citizens from the voter roll found that most of the purges stem from paperwork errors rather than actual cases of non-citizens voting. We know this, but the purge has targeted qualified citizens. According to one analyst, the Supreme Court decision is extremely worrisome because the National Voter Registration Act explicitly forbids systematic purges of voter rolls shortly before an election. It now looks like the conservative supermajority will let states ignore that prohibition. Joyce Vance said this ruling overrode that long-standing precedent. I mean, to your point, though, Carl, about Mark Elias, I saw him on TV yesterday saying this is not going to affect the election in Virginia. Kamala Harris is going to win, but it is amazing the myriad ways they're trying to find to disenfranchise people, isn't it?
Well, and in other places, they've got lawsuits to disallow the counting of provisional ballots.
Right.
So how do those things tie together? Well, let's imagine that you are a voter whose registration is canceled because Governor Youngkin is trying to brown nose Donald Trump by canceling registrations. And so you're at the polling place on election day and you're trying to vote. And they tell you, well, you can't because your registration's been canceled. Well, then you have a right under law to ask for a provisional ballot.
Right.
Well, now they're trying to make it so that you don't even have that right anymore. And so ultimately what this comes down to, when people say, how do you know that Republicans are not just trying to keep the process clean and fair? Can you name one example of Republicans trying to make it easier for eligible voters?
No.
You can't.
I mean, and in some cases, they're saying, they're probably disenfranchising some of their own voters in their zeal to stop people from voting.
But what they're gambling on is that, their voters are either going to be more committed to getting it resolved or less collateral damage in the process. So if they can cancel 2,000 Democrats and only cancel 500 Republicans, they think that's a net gain.
Yeah. Well, and meanwhile, can I just say, every story just about you see, it's them trying to cheat.
Yeah.
Right? A woman supporting Trump was reportedly charged with felony voter fraud after she filled out an absentee ballot for her dead mother. How many of those stories have we seen with Trump supporters? Republican former congressional candidate charged with stealing ballots in Indiana. During a test of a voting system in Indiana, state police says this just on and on. And this one I already mentioned. A machete-wielding teenager was arrested on Tuesday for trying to intimidate two women who were holding signs in support of Kamala Harris. This is in Neptune Beach, Florida. They said 18-year-old Caleb, of course his name's Caleb.
Oh, poor Caleb.
Somebody trying to intimidate two unidentified women, 54 and 71 years old, by brandishing a machete while they stood outside a polling place. I mean, Carl, they're trying. We keep saying all of this stuff, lighting drop boxes on fire. It's all, undermines people's confidence that their vote will be counted, isn't it?
Yeah, and if you're wondering who Donald Trump is going to pardon when he becomes president, these are the types of people that he's going to let off the hook.
Yeah.
So, look, what do we know? All of this craziness, we know two things. One, you need to go vote now. Like, don't risk having some weird problem happen.
I'm sorry, Chris, are your headphones working? Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. Yeah. Go ahead, Carl.
Mm-hmm. Don't risk having some weird problem happen that keeps you from being able to exercise your vote. And number two, you still have less than a week to get out there and knock doors, make phone calls, to give a little bit more money to help close the deal here. When Kamala Harris wins on Tuesday, you need to know that you did everything in your power to be a part of that.
Yeah.
And if you can't wake up to celebrate it until Thursday, then you worked hard enough.
And Carl, to echo your point, I wrote a tweet about, I want to go back to when voting was boring. I mean, I think that's the problem. This is not boring. This is, again, unprecedented because of the stakes here. And so I agree with you. I've been urging people on the voting early because you have time to correct. If there is effery, whatever kind, when you go to vote, you have time to correct it. You have more, but if you wait till election day and there's effery, whether it's, violence, fires, whatever the heck it might happen, you have no time to
if you've already voted, then you can spend election day helping to get out the rest of the voters.
Right. Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, because I think we just don't know what to expect this time. And I know you said you said when Kamala Harris wins. Thank you. My rumbly tumbly thanks you for that. I think so too, but it's just so I think there is that totally unexpected thing. I mean, of course they're trying to take this stupid garbage ball and run with it, as if Donald Trump doesn't say something horrible about fellow Americans every few minutes, right?
Yeah. Look, she could be 25 points ahead right now, and we would still all feel the way that we feel because we're Democrats.
Yeah.
The only way to make yourself feel better about this is to get out of the fetal position, get off the floor, and go do something about it.
Yep.
Get over it. Like, knock on doors, make phone calls, give money,
Yep.
do everything you possibly can. Find every single person in your address book that you think might have a problem getting out to vote. Make sure they get to the polls.
Yep. We're the ones we're waiting for. I loved Rick Wilson's tweet. He said, "All you CEOs bending the knee to Trump are going to feel pretty stupid next week." And we see you cowards. So and it couldn't be clearer whether it's character or policies, Carl. We just had companies come out and say we're going to have to raise prices way through the roof because of these tariffs. How many more warnings do you need? That a second Trump presidency would be a complete and total disaster.
Yeah, we'd be careening from one, self-inflicted wound to the next because he truly does not care. He can have friendly reporters on friendly networks explain tariffs to him, and he still doesn't get it.
I know. All right, Carl Frisch, you're leaving it all in the field. And yeah, I hope you can clean up after yourself. But okay, thank you for everything you do.
Squeaky clean by Saturday
night. Yay!
Yay! We'll see you Saturday for LA Sexy Liberal.
Hey all, Glenn Kirshner here. I hope you'll join me on my new audio podcast, Justice Matters. I'll be using my 30 years as a federal prosecutor and Army JAG to unpack, break down, and explain the legal issues of the day, particularly where the legal intersects with the political. Please look for Justice Matters with Glenn Kirshner wherever you generally get your podcasts.